The following presentation is about a true story about me. Buckle up. Also, I'm recording this in my car because, I don't know, there's no other places I can record right now. So there you go. So I have a problem with my jaw. This was the first time I've ever had an experience with lockjaw. I yawned so big that my jaw just locked into place and I couldn't say anything about it, but cry out to my mom for help because it was starting to hurt and I had no way to close my mouth. My mom told me I looked deformed when I walked back into her room that night. And well, we rushed to the ER and waited a while with my mouth completely open. And after about an hour and a half wait, we were finally sent to the back to wait for a doctor to come over. Once I finally got to see the doctor, he came up to me, grabbed my jaw like a drawer, and just pushed it down and then back up into place. It was like my jaw malfunctioned and he just pushed it right back into factory mode. I was sent that night with some Tylenol and a note not to open my mouth so wide. That wasn't the only time that this had happened. After that event, I had lockjaw at the dentist when I was getting my wisdom teeth removed, at school after yawning way too big, and probably the worst of them yet, in an airplane. The day went by just like any other. I was visiting my mom in Florida and then coming back Sunday afternoon back to New Jersey. We had just departed the airport and everything was going smoothly. I had my music playing in my ears and I was ready to take a nap on the plane ride back. I was getting really sleepy and I yawned. And when I yawned, I felt a click in my head that my jaw had locked. I tried not to panic. I just tried to relax my jaw and close it. Nothing was working. I called the stewardess and she had called everyone on board and asked if there was anyone who was a doctor on board. 3 people had showed up at my row and tried to help me. None of the doctors knew how to handle locked jaw, so I was stuck there in pain. The stewardesses then brought me up to the front of the plane and asked me if I should do an emergency landing. I felt like I could have handled the flight and just held it in for an hour and a half. Plus, I really didn't want to upset all these people on board. They gave me some ice and tried to help me out the best they could. A nice nurse even came up and wrapped the ice bandages around my head so I didn't have to hold it up the whole time. I was then moved up to a seat towards the front of the plane and sat in between 2 very lovely ladies who were helping me through my panic. The worst feeling was the pressure I was feeling in my head. But the worst of the worst was the landing. It felt like all the pressure was going into my temples and into my jaw. I was crying at that point, and once we landed, it was the most embarrassing moment of my life. And in front of all of those people, I was a hot mess. The police came over and took me off of the plane in a wheelchair. I could walk fine, but my head was spinning and I was so sick. The police asked if I wanted an ambulance to pick me up to go to the hospital. And I thought, well, aren't ambulances really expensive? But no, it was the best course of action because that was the fastest way to get to the hospital. I was wheeled back over to the tunnel thingy and walked down the stairs outside. Next to the plane was the ambulance. I was so weak in the back of the ambulance that I kept throwing up. It was one of the worst rides I've ever experienced. And once we got to the hospital, they put me in a bed, got me a dress, and I had to take off all of my vomit-covered clothes. They gave me an IV bag and some Valium to loosen up my muscles and relax me since I was so tense. My boyfriend got to the emergency room where I was, and I was already loopy at that point. It hit me hard, and it took a few tries from a couple of doctors to get my mouth closed. Finally, once they closed my mouth, they gave me a head wrap and told me that I should keep it on for the next 24 hours. I had my mouth open for about 3 hours at that point, and I was so happy to have my mouth finally closed. Andre helped me carry my stuff, and we got back and finally rested after a long night. I came back to the hospital the next day to get an x-ray of my jaw. There was an oral surgeon there, and he wanted to see if I needed surgery for it. I suggested not to do that, and basically now I just need to be careful with opening my jaw. Yeah, that's my story. I'm not getting oral surgery, but I know that before I think about yawning or taking a really big bite of a sandwich, I need to hold my mouth and keep it closed because, yeah, I'm not going back to the ER with my mouth completely open. That's my little story about me and my lockjaw problem. If anyone has ever experienced stuff like this, let me know in the comments below because I'd love to hear your story. Hey, if you made it to the end of this video and you're listening to this audio right now, I really appreciate you. Yeah, I don't even know what else to say because honestly, like, that's pretty cool that you actually made it this far. I really appreciate it. You get a gold star. There you go. So, I don't know what YouTube thing. Like, comment, share, subscribe if you'd like. I'd really like that. It really helped me, motivate me, make more videos. So yeah, I'm gonna go away now. Watch me disappear. Bye.